Hey, my name is Chris, and I'd like to welcome you all to my seminar about Chris LaRose apparel. Throughout this seminar, we may also refer to the brand as CLA for the sheer fact that we will be referring to the brand name a lot. So before we dive into the details, I'd like to first review the agenda of this presentation. So we'll start with the business overview, where we might talk about things like some objectives and the brand promise. And then we'll move on to the business marketing plan. So here we might talk about things like competitive advantage, product differentiation, and even talking about consumer segments and consumer targeting. The next part will be the market. So we'll talk about the marketing environment. We'll do an environmental scan, and we'll talk about the positioning for our company as well in the primary market. Following this, we will look at the marketing mix, so the 4Ps, of course, that we all know: product, price, promotion, and place/distribution. And then we will finish it up with a very quick recap. So let's jump right into the business overview. There really aren't many clothing options for the working man. Many men stay trapped in the same sloppy, itchy suit that they got from Moores, 10, however many years ago. They don't look confident. They don't feel confident. How else are they going to win in today's business world? At Chris LaRose Apparel, we work hard so that you can too. So what is Chris LaRose Apparel? Well, Chris LaRose Apparel is inspired by the latest runway trends to provide stylish, handcrafted dress attire alongside a one-of-a-kind expert styling experience for any man looking to upgrade his wardrobe. Heavily inspired by the European fashion scene, CLA lines of high-quality dresswear will leave a man looking and feeling confident, and he'll know exactly what to do with his new wardrobe after he experiences our professional styling session. The company will also greatly differ from most retailers because of its emphasis on customer relations. A strong company focused on relationship marketing will make CLA any working man's second home. They'll always have somebody to come back to. They'll always have a nearby location that they can go get new outfits and feel inspired once again. A majority of the product will be handcrafted in Italy and Turkey. So these are known kind of to be the fine tailoring capitals of the world. This is where Louis Vuitton, Gucci, this is where these places are crafted. As well, initially locations will stretch across Eastern Canada. So major cities like Toronto, Montreal, these are definitely fashion hotspots in North America. And we will inevitably be hoping to make the company an international presence as well. However, CLA isn't just hopes and dreams. We've established several SMART goals for the organization. So these are, of course, realistic, measurable, attainable, in a timely manner, of course. So realizing these goals is an essential component of the CLA vision. We strive to achieve maximum productivity so that we can someday get these results that we're looking for. So the first goal of CLA will be to reach $4 million in revenue at each major location. So we're talking like the Eaton Center locations, the Montreal locations, Carrefour Laval, within 5 years. So this will prove as an effective goal given that it is very easily measurable. An established store around our price range and expected traffic can bring in nearly $1 million in revenue, and this is no problem. On a yearly basis, $1 million. With an extra year as a grace period to kind of establish ourselves, really build a fundamental basis for our company, it should be easily obtainable with even maybe a bit of wiggle room at the end. The second SMART objective for CLA will be to have a fully trained staff of professional stylists at each major location within 1 year. So this will entail a team of 6 staff at each location, all with a strong and verified understanding of the fundamentals of men's tailoring and suiting. This ties very well into the first goal. So as previously discussed, CLA will need time to establish itself internally and externally in the market. So the first fiscal year will really be that opportunity to focus on developing our staff and create a competent basis for the organization. The last SMART objective that we're going to talk about for CLA is to create an online shop as well as a loyalty service and a customer database. So if we're focusing heavily on customer relations, it's important that they stay notified on what's new, and as well it's important that they get incentivized to keep shopping through things like loyalty programs. So again, we're focusing on a short-term goal to establish the company fundamentally, and this goal will try to create a consumer database that CLA can then market towards more easily. Given that CLA is so heavily focused on creating positive and loyal customer relationships, I think that this will be quite effective. And then lastly, I think that creating the online shop will be essential for pretty much any modern retail store. So given that this is a marketing course after all, let's talk about the marketing plan. So the men's retail industry internationally is a huge industry worth well over $400 billion. The total trade of textiles and men's suiting was worth $43.4 billion in 2016 alone. And even just within Canada, men's retailers generated about $1 billion in revenue in 2017. Companies such as Moores and Harry Rosen will act as CLA's biggest competitors. So how are we going to separate ourselves from the rest? So as one would expect from the fact that we're handmade from high quality materials, especially at first, it will be nearly impossible for CLA to maintain a cost competitive advantage. Instead, CLA will focus on differential advantages. So these differential advantages will primarily be a higher quality product and a standout expert styling experience for each customer. They translate directly into customer value and create an experience that justifies higher product costs than those that you would find at, say, Zara or H&M. Crystal Rose apparel is much more than just clothing though, right? It's about a lifestyle and ultimately an experience. It's called the whole product. So our frequent customers, they like the staff, they love the product, they enjoy the comfort zone, and overall they appreciate the experience and the customer value that they're getting that transcends just the clothing. We believe that this is a form of competitive advantage in its own, and that it is the most sustainable kind of competitive advantage, product differentiation. And as well, other clothing retailers should really be getting on the trend as well of being a bit more interactive, because I think that they're a little bit late to that trend. In the domestic stages of the company, when we're kind of only dealing in Canada, the target segment and consumer market is really, really clear. So Crystal Rose apparel will be for the professional hustle and bustle man, be it for an interview, a date, a 9 to 5. These are men who want lasting dress attire, who want to present themselves as motivated and ready. So some of the factors kind of determining this geographically in terms of our product, it's going to be no surprise that it's very cold in Canada. Our customers need something that is going to keep them warm in the winter while also being breathable in the summers. As well, another kind of factor of this segment is going to be demographics wise. It's very obvious. These are men, right? These are usually working age men, so young adults all the way up until, elderly. Although we'll never turn down a woman, right? But we can't really guarantee that the product lifespan will be as long because, they wear it differently. Obviously, we might be a bit more appealing to the upper class as well because, as we touched on, we aren't necessarily cheap. Lastly, when we discuss psychographics, if it wasn't clear, we're focusing on driven working men and young adults who want to feel proud kind of about their professional identity. They want to represent themselves as formal and professional. So CLA will employ a concentrated market strategy to really brand ourselves as the place to go to if you want an excellent and unique styling experience. Given the fact that CLA only sells men's workwear and professional attire, the company will only attract consumers who are interested in this service and resultantly won't have to expend any time or capital in appealing to different markets, of course. And as well, since there's such a great emphasis on relationship marketing, you could even consider the company to be closer to one-to-one marketing as well, as we're truly kind of trying to create an individually tailored experience for each customer. After all, suiting is not a one-size-fits-all business, of course, and being able to have regular customers with known profiles will act as a huge asset, as these 10 to 20% of customers may supply a bulk of the company's revenue, especially at first. Additionally, these customers will be highly inclined to spread the word, and that's going to be really big for marketing our company early on, especially with the assistance of online promotions. So we quickly highlighted information about the market during our discussion of the marketing plan, but let's really get right into it. So even the largest companies cannot fully control their external marketing environment. This environment is composed of many factors that can either threaten or benefit the health of a company. CLA is no exception. Here is actually a CREST analysis that will describe the major external factors that will influence CLA. So the first factor is competition. As previously mentioned, this is a $1 billion industry within Canada. Companies such as Moores and Harry Rosen will be direct competitors for CLA, as they will be offering similar products at generally similar price points. We will aim to combat this by providing styling that these competitors will not, that separates us from them. Consumers looking for cheaper products may also opt for companies such as Zara and H&M, although they will soon find that the quality is lacking and may find their way to our store. Lastly, we do always have to stay attentive of larger companies that can decide to be competition. So at any moment, a company like Nike could decide to enter the suiting market and dominate our industry. The only reason they choose not to is their own brand positioning. They don't want to position themselves like that, but this is always a potential threat for CLA. Next, in our CREST analysis, we have one major regulatory factor that actually also acts a bit as a social factor, so we're going to talk about that. So the regulatory factor that works in the favor of CLA is specifically involved with globalization. So globalization is only becoming more prevalent with the internet, and as such, all of this is changing our views on the child labor policies. So countries like Bangladesh, China, India that may employ child labor, these countries are soon changing their laws as attention is made, and soon enough these factories may have to close down or raise their prices of product once they raise their salaries for employees. So soon competitors such as Zara and Moores could face difficulty if the conditions of their workers is questioned. Zara has already been outed over this topic, and companies like Moores, who outsource several different brands like Calvin Klein, etc., may have a difficult time keeping up with where each of their products is being made. Since CLA product is made all in Italy and Turkey, it's our own brand, we know where it's coming from. This is not a problem for the organization, and in fact, it actually acts as a benefit, like I said before. So, according to the Child Fund International, 77% of participants in their study stated that they would not purchase clothing or other merchandise if they were made aware that child labor had been involved. This is as of 2013 as well. So CLA can actually kind of flaunt the fact that they don't use child labor policy or child labor workers, and that might even kind of help our products sell a bit more. Kind of same goes for our green production practices. So consumers are willing to pay higher prices for green products. This has been shown time and time again. So why not show it off? A small threat socially is the contemporary notion that workwear is dying out. I didn't even include this in the presentation because I didn't think it was that significant. It has been discussed that the millennial generation does not like to get dressed up as much as their predecessors, and they like to keep it a bit more casual for work, that sort of atmosphere. This could be a major threat long-term to the suiting industry as a whole. Despite this, I believe that given the cyclical nature of fashion, it's sort of how trends from decades before seem to come back time and time again, suiting is not going to go anywhere, and that this is not proven to be a considerable threat for CLA just yet. Next in our analysis, we're going to talk about another external factor, which is the economy. We must always be wary of the economy, of course. So even though clothing is generally a very inelastic product, during dire economic times, consumers may choose the cheaper alternatives, especially when we're talking about expensive suiting such as ours. This is where establishing strong relationships is essential, as it is important CLA translates customer value to demonstrate why the product is worth the cost. As well, the time of year can have a great impact on the fashion industry's economics. As we all know, during Christmas, there's parties, there's all that going on. In December of 2017 alone, Canadians spent almost $50 billion. And as well with that, suiting sales skyrocketed because people are suiting up and dressing up to visit family, that whole deal. So CLA will have to plan promotional strategies around time periods like this to maximize potential seasonal opportunities. Lastly, technology is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our life and is where many Canadians shop exclusively. According to a quote, only 7% of Canadians say they've never made a purchase online, 37% shop e-commerce at least monthly, 75% of those that do shop online said they spend up to $200 a month, and 10% claim that they spend up to $500 each month. This is a major industry for CLA to tap into at some point, and that's why the company hopes to get an online shop and loyalty program operating as soon as possible. The ability to send alerts to customers as reminders of new promotions will only keep the brand on their mind even more. So those are the external factors. Now let's talk about the market, and more specifically how we will position our brand. I place an emphasis on brand because this is not product positioning. We are not discussing changes to the product, but just the perception of the brand by the consumers. So how we're going to position our brand is we want to present CLA as a trendy, high-end professional brand. This will be presented in different forms of advertising and promotion. So these may focus on successful looking men in professional outfits, men that have been inspired by our clothing. Generally, we want to inspire those that wear our clothing to do better for themselves. And then here we can kind of see an image of the CLA perceptual map. So as you can see, Zara is not even comparable in terms of product, but they may still attract a small portion of the market due to their cheaper alternatives. As well, Moores is on the cheaper end of the suiting spectrum at a cheaper cost. Lastly, again, we have Harry Rosen, who will be our biggest competitor. Our emphasis on customer service and relationship marketing will be kind of the key to separating them from us. Now we can move on to the marketing mix, which is truly the meat of the company and this presentation. So here, of course, we'll be discussing the colloquial 4Ps. We've already gone a lot over kind of what the product is, but I will do a recap. But as well, for quick clarification purposes, I'm going to note how it is classified in the NAICS. So CLA is considered men's clothing retail industry, and it's also part of other specialized design services. So the codes are listed right in the presentation there respectively. And what is our product? I want to emphasize again that it's not just the clothing you buy at CLA that's our product. We offer a whole package, a whole product. It's the connection you create with the expert stylist helping you. It's the knowledge you take away from the experience. It's the sense of security, knowing you can come back if you have any concerns. As well, the experience is pricey. I won't deny that. Paying over $1,000 on a suit is a commitment. But fortunately, the product literally sells itself, as the stylist will also be a major part of the consumer decision-making process. Obviously, throughout the entirety of that process, the stylist will be right there telling them the features and benefits of the clothing that they're purchasing, and surely influencing the consumer's final choice. Now on to the pricing of the product, which is ultimately the most important aspect of this seminar. A company like CLA has a lot of expenses. There's training of staff, there's store overhead, green materials, proper working wages, right? No child labor. Not to mention being allocated to online stores and on a database as well. There really are a lot of costs that CLA has to pay. And as a result, CLA will employ a profit-oriented sales objective to really focus on profit maximization and give the company as much leverage as possible to grow. This will be done through constantly improving customer service. So like we saw in the lessons, recent research has shown that enhancing customer satisfaction levels results in greater profitability than using a cost reduction strategy or attempting to do both. As well, we've kind of touched on determinants of price so far without really focusing on them. For example, we talked about how seasons affect price, and we've also talked about how competition will have an effect on price. One thing we haven't talked about, and probably the biggest determinant, is going to be price to quality relationship. So it's been greatly accentuated that CLA focuses on developing high quality handcrafted garments and has a brand image that puts the garment quality in the foreground. Due to this, CLA will have a relatively high price within the industry to reflect the high quality of craftsmanship behind the product. Other than seasonal sales, product will likely seldom be on sale to once again demonstrate a status of luxury and exclusivity. This is to help maintain a luxurious brand position in the minds of the consumer. And then when it comes to promotion, CLA will utilize the 4 primary promotional tools. So we'll begin with advertising and public relations, as you can see on the board. Any company that's still in the early stages of development understands that getting their name out there is essential. Word of mouth will play a critical factor in the brand during its earliest stages, but it's not something that can be solely relied upon later in the product's life cycle. And given that CLA wants to establish itself as a presence within the industry of men's professional retailers, advertising and public relations to gain publicity and attention will play key roles in the company's promotional mix. So advertisements will attempt to be progressive, they'll attempt to capture attention to the point where they might even be a bit cliche. There might be a bit of an intensity to them, maybe a darkness, and this will all convey the confidence that the brand hopes to instill. Advertising will be done primarily through the internet and alternative media, of course. So as technology advances, different forms of media are becoming available to advertise on, and this is leading to increasing fragmentation between advertising media. The internet is definitely the most prevalent medium today to advertise on, that has the biggest base of viewers, and as such will be where a majority of the advertising is done. As well, public relations events in malls, maybe billboard signage and television ads may also be alternative forms of media that we use to gain attention on our company. As well, personal selling will also play a key role in creating a desire for CLA clothing. So while consultations are not necessarily scheduled and booked, customers will indeed receive a lengthy service and sales experience. A customer may walk in just to browse, but if a representative can convey the benefits of CLA product properly and create an excellent experience, customer may not leave empty-handed. Lastly, sales promotion may be effective to turn price into a tool of promotion on its own. So while I did say earlier that generally older product will not go on sale, seasonal items may see promotions. Examples of this could be dress shorts or casual summer blazers. And if customers see that these products are on some sort of flash sale, this could attract them into the store and potentially lead to a sale. We can measure the success of all of this using the DAG-MAR approach, the DAGMAR approach, and then CLA can effectively measure the progress and effectiveness of their promotional and advertising activities. And last but not least, we'll quickly go over our distribution. So we'll have stores across the east coast of Canada, especially within major shopping epicenters like Toronto and Montreal. Our products will be produced in factories in Turkey and Italy and will inevitably be shipped to stores or directly to clients if they participate in online shopping. So as a quick recap, CLA combines handcrafted European fashion with an expert styling experience to create a level of value for the consumer that is unmatched by any of its competitors. With an effective marketing plan focused on service and profit maximization, as well as a thorough understanding of the marketing environment that Chris LaRose Apparel competes in, I'm looking to you for your interest and stakes of this company. With plenty of room for growth and a vision to go international, there is a great amount of potential with Chris LaRose Apparel. Thank you very much for listening to this seminar, and I hope you have a fantastic day.